Hypothesis 6. That those who despise and deride unpretentious and self-abasing people sin very gravely. A. From the life of St. Gregory the Wonderworker. 1. It was evident to everyone that the great Gregory was a very zealous, above all and at all times, to offer comfort to those in need. On one occasion he was returning to his own city from the neighboring city of Cremona. Two Jews, either with a view to making a profit or because they intended to ridicule the saint as being easily deceived, kept watch for him on the road on which he was going to be traveling. The one man stretched out on his back beside the highway and played dead. The other, pretending that he was lamenting the dead man, simulated the cries of mourners. When the saint passed by, he exclaimed, "This poor man died suddenly and now lies here naked without the wherewithal for his burial." With feigned tears he besought the saint not to neglect the demands of piety, but to show some compassion for the man's poverty, and to provide from his own resources the means whereby they might cover his body with a funeral shroud. 2. Such were the pleas that he uttered. Without a second thought, the saint removed the cloak that he was wearing, placed it on the supine man, and continued his journey. After the saint had passed by and those who had tricked him were left on their own, that swindler immediately transformed his sham mourning into laughter and exhorted his companion to get up, guffawing gleefully at the profit which their dupery had brought them. 3. His accomplice, however, remained in the same position, unable to hear anything that the other was saying to him. Although the latter shouted more loudly and prodded him with his foot, his companion did not experience any sensation. He remained in the same position, neither hearing the shouting nor feeling any pain from the prodding. For he had died as soon as the cloak was placed on him, being overtaken by the very death which he had feigned in order to hoodwink the saint. Hence the man of God was not deceived, but the cloak proved useful for the purpose for which they sought it. 4. Let no one be surprised at the seemingly woeful result of that great man's faith and power, but let him consider the great apostle Peter. He too displayed the great power with which God endowed him, not only by working beneficial miracles. He healed the sufferings of the sick merely by the shadow of his body, but also by condemning Ananias to death for despising the power that dwelt in him. Although the punishment of Ananias was harsh, it nonetheless inspired a salutary fear in everyone, so that those inclined to be contemptuous might become more prudent and be instructed by this fearful example not to fall into similar errors. 5. It was entirely natural, therefore, that the emulator of Peter should have obtained the same result with him who wanted to deceive the Holy Spirit. In the evil act which these swindlers carried out, tried to mock the saint and to profit from him. Rightly, therefore, did these Jews, who supposed that they could trifle with the power of this great saint, became an example for others not to have recourse to fraud, since God rebukes those who dare such things. B. From St. Ephraim. If a man is more industrious and diligent than others in acquiring the virtues, let no one despise him. On the contrary, we should welcome such people, because they are both dear to God and useful to the community. Let us be persuaded of this by the two encampments, that of the Hebrews and that of the Philistines, and by the single combat between David and Goliath. See 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 42 to 51. As well as by those who were shipwrecked at sea and were all saved, thanks to the righteous man who was with them, as it is written, "Fear not, Paul, thou must be brought before Caesar, and lo, God hath given thee all them that sail with thee." Acts 27:24. End of hypothesis 6.